Recording. Right. Official welcome to anyone watching the recording. Thank you for joining us. And Christine, thank you so much for coming back. We're very excited to learn from you tonight. And I'm just going to hand straight to you and pin you to the screen. And look forward to hearing what you've got to tell us.
Absolutely. So today we want to talk a little bit about, starting with the end in mind, and particularly the sales conversation, which everyone goes, ew, really? Do I have to have the sales conversation? The truth is, sales is the oxygen in your business. And without selling, you don't have a business. And no matter how awesome you are or how much value you think you convey every single day, people aren't seeing it unless you are more direct than you're being now. And I always think that the first conversation around selling is about reframing what it really means to sell. Because many of us, when we start becoming entrepreneurs, want to outsource it, want somebody else to do it. We want to hope that somebody just magically shows up, falls over us, and opens their wallet and says, please, can you take my money? And we sort of subscribe to the Kevin Costner Field of Dreams business strategy, which is, if I build it, they will come. Anybody else ever built that strategy? And guess what happens? You built this amazing product or service in a vacuum, and it's a beautiful field that has crickets in it. Lots of them. Like they're infested with it. And nobody is buying your product. And a big part of that is because you haven't built the demand for it, or you haven't actually had a sales conversation. And I think it's really simple. Like my whole philosophy on coaching, as you know, because you've seen me once before, is about keeping it really simple. But sales is the oxygen in your business. You need to start with the end in mind. And anybody who works with me, I always say, and I did a video on this on the YouTube, you can post it in your community if you'd like, which is, I will tell you the health of your business with two simple things. And this is always the baseline question I ask anybody when they start working with me, and we check it regularly. I check it for myself because it tells me the health of my business. Any idea what they are? Two things indicate your performance. They're really simple. Number one, how many people are you talking to?
Does my
chances are you are not meeting enough people. That's just the whole problem. You built this field and you hope they found you, and you cannot race to the bottom of your pocketbook trying to buy traffic. Like, you are not Tony Robbins or any other major celebrity business owner, and they still spend millions of dollars to create traffic. You can't compete at that level. So please don't. You've got to build it organically, but you've got to get in front of more people, more ways, more often. Because if I asked you to audit in the last 30 days, how many new people did you meet? How big's the number? Estimate. Tell me. How many new people did you meet in the last 30 days?
Not enough.
Tell me the number. Just own the number. Because I said, this is not a judgment. This is just, where are you starting? Zero. Okay.
I don't think I've met any new people.
Zero.
No.
Two. Three.
Okay. 2 or 3. So you can count them on your hands. What if I told you needed to be meeting 1,000 people every month to see consistency in your business?
What?
I think you're having an anxiety attack.
I was going to say, I need anti-anxiety medication.
It's a big number, and it sounds a big number, and it is a big number, but it doesn't have to be a big number. But I want you to take away one thing is, right now, you are not meeting enough people. We're going to talk about how do you meet people and how do you engage with people. And that's going to be the focus of today, because it will help you get into the right sales conversations. But the first thing I always look at is, how many people are you meeting? And it's actually two-pronged, but the first one is new people, because the truth is your business will be built on strangers. So if you're not meeting any new people, you have a problem. I call it an expensive hobby and not a business. You need to be meeting more people. And there's a whole strategy I do. And so I will just plug it right now. It's not the focus of today, but I run a whole program. It's 4 weeks group program. Next one starts on the 28th of June, which is about building your audience organically. 4 weeks. We're going to walk you through how do you actually meet more people? How do you actually know what 3 things to communicate to people that spark curiosity and lead them to wanting to have a conversation with you? It's worth taking. It's $447. It'll be the best money you spend, because if you can bring 1 client in, you will pay the cost of that. But the goal is not 1 client. The goal is repeating clients, repeating audience who shows up into your life and says, tell me what it's like to work with you. That's a very different feel to your stress level about your success. And it's very confidence building that you have consistency in client growth. That means you do not panic at the start of every month when you have inconsistent cash flow. So we'll just tell you, if you do not have a strategy right now to meet more people, you should absolutely be looking at that 4-week program. And I run it regularly, but the next one starts in a couple of weeks. It is the best money you can spend, because you cannot spend your way to buying traffic. Nobody has that deep in pockets unless you're a very big celebrity, and you will need to, as you grow, to pay for advertising, but you don't need to do it in the early stages. I think truly you can build a 6-figure business organically, but you got to know how, and I can teach you that. But the first thing, so new people, but the second point is conversations with people you've met more than once, who are potential collaborators or potential clients. How many people did you meet and have more than one conversation with that you've met more than once in the last 30 days? Tell me your number. Meet anybody again for the 2nd or 3rd, 5th, 10th time? No. Well, that's just an indication. Okay, so it's with great love and respect to say it's just an indication. Remember that, most business success is built on relationships. That means it's not a hit and run. You need to be strategic about nurturing relationships and recognize that the number used to be 7 to 12. If you do not follow up with somebody or have 7 to 10 touch points with people, which isn't, hey, follow up, I'm following up, I'm following up. It's 7 to 10 unique touch points. You won't get a client, or you won't get commitment, or you won't move forward. And so the reason I always ask on the first pillar of what success is built on, how many people are you meeting? Visibility. I say it has to be new people, and it has to be people you've met more than once, that you reach out to, you reconnect to, you touch base with, you give value to, because you are creating awareness that you are still existing first and foremost, and that you are still committed to growing your business, and you're still committed to supporting them whenever they're ready, because you don't actually choose when a client says yes to you. So you've got to have a really good funnel of awareness and visibility, because you can't rely on the fact that I've had one conversation and they said yes. And it happens. Like, I went to a podcast and landed a client. It was the most unexpected thing. It happened to have been my first client. So how funny is that? I was not prepared to be making an offer. I was expecting to be a guest on a podcast, but she was my first client. And I bumbled it, made a complete mess of it. Second time we continued to work together, I doubled my rates because I just undersold myself. But I want you to take that way. Visibility is a really important one. New people and regular conversations. And I coach my clients 50% minimum of your time every week, no matter how much time you dedicate, whether it's 1 hour or a full-time job, 50% of your time needs to be around this strategy. And it's interesting because we don't do it. And that's why we struggle. Because we think that we really love the service delivery bit. Like, most of us want to do the bit where we're executing our passion or executing and seeing the light with someone else on the other side. But you can't get new clients if you don't constantly work your visibility strategy. And the risk that you have if you don't do this consistently is that you stay on this massive roller coaster of, I'm doing so much great work with my client. I love this season, till then the contract is completed. And then you're going, oh my God, I have no revenue. And holy shit, I'm still paying expenses. And then I need to go and crash course and try to find new clients. And that energetically is off. People feel hunted. They don't want to work with you. And you are just really in a tough place. But if you know that habitually, 1 or 2 meetings a week or 5 hours a week, I'm going to go and meet new people, talk to new people, follow up with people, you create this place where people show up in your world and say, something you said to me yesterday, even though I've been watching for a long time, really resonated with me. I feel like I need to draw the line in the sand and talk to you about what it looks like. It happens. And how amazing would that feel in your business? If somebody showed up and said, this is when they do trip over you and say, open their wallet and say, tell me what it's like to work with you. It's awesome. It is the reason you do the happy dance. And you go, oh, I freaking love this. It's so fun because it's the start of a new relationship. And all the little seeds you planted kind of need to be watered and sprouted and grown. And so takeaway number one, we're going to talk about how to do storytelling, but I want you to know you need to have an intentional visibility strategy. And it really helps to do this with somebody, which is why I run this program. Because if left to our own devices, we cancel out of networking meetings. We don't ever sign up for networking meetings. We show up to meetings and we don't know what to talk about or how to create curiosity. And so we do one of two things. We vomit our business at people. Happens, seen it, does a ton of it in social media. Or we sound like everybody else. And we use simple, uninteresting words to describe ourselves. And it sounds like this. Hi, my name is Christine Campbell-Rappin. I'm the owner of Clear Acceleration, and I'm a business success coach, and I help people. So can you please give me 7 referrals? My details are in the chat. Anybody seen that? Or anybody done that? I have a whole course that's free. Come along to it to break that habit, but you do need to have an intentional strategy. And I say accountability on this is key, because right now, if you said I met 3 people, 5 people, 0 people this month, you know that you're not meeting enough people. So take that away. The second measure of what I say to people, this will tell you the health of your business in the next 30 to 90 days, is a simple one. How many offers did you make in the last 30 days? Clear, specific offers with a dollar or a round sign to it. Two. But you, Lana and Brent, any offers in the last 30 days? No. I do this regularly and go, holy shit, I've done nothing. And then I have to remind myself, how do I get paid? Only if I make an offer, because I'm a consultant, I'm a coach. So if I don't make any offers, guess what happens? If you made no offers, how do you expect revenue to be coming towards you? It's a really simple, hard, really scary conversation. And don't worry, I'm not going to leave you scared. But without offers, you do not have a business. And so that's a really good reminder to yourself to put a Post-it note in your working space that says, my goal is to make 1 offer a week or 1 offer a day, because not every offer is accepted. So if you start with 0, and you have 0 revenue coming, or if you made 1, you still may have 0 revenue coming. The more offers you make, the more consistent you are with offering, the more likely you will have revenue consistently. It's a simple math conversation. And what's interesting about that, you do need to know your numbers. You need to know your close ratio. If you are, again, thinking you will show up, make 1 conversation, have 1 offer and 1 acceptance, and that is how you'll build your business, I want to know when it happens, because it feels like a unicorn. Because I think people are in 3 lanes, and we talk about building traffic and sales. The whole goal of building traffic is people are in 3 lanes. Lane number 1 is the fast lane, and they have a crisis. And so they might be the person who phones you and says, I've been looking for somebody, I need something right now, and I've got my wallet. Where do we go? When do we start? They're the smallest lane, and when they happen, celebrate them. But they cannot be the basis of which you build a business, because the fast lane is the smallest lane. The middle lane is where the bulk of people are, and they know they need something. They have a recognized problem. And the problem that they see is something that they're going, I'm okay. I'm just going to white knuckle this. It's not so bad. I'm just in a rough patch. Things will get better. And so they are aware of something but still committed to freebies. I can get through this. Maybe it's not so bad. But if you are visible to that middle lane, and it is a tough moment where they draw the line in the sand and you say, I'm here, I'll make an offer, you will get them to move. But you got to be visible to them. That's the key. That's why you need to be making more friends. The challenge is that they need to know they have a problem. So that's middle lane. The third lane, which is they have no idea they have a problem. They think maybe one day they'll have a problem and you know that they're going to have a problem, but they're like, that's somebody else's problem. Like, it's not mine yet. And so like they see you kind of like 10 miles down the road and they see you kind of like interesting wallpaper. Oh, those poor people who have problems, that's not me. Even though you're like, trust me, if you're on this course, chances are of your life, this path that you're on, this road, chances are you are going to recognize you have a problem and you'll move from that slow lane to the mid lane and probably to the fast lane. But that's the whole reason we get into conversation. That's the whole reason we meet people, is to kind of assess what kind of lane are they in, and then be prepared the moment you see the selling signals to offer, if you feel you can help them. So let's talk about selling. And I'm going to bring up a presentation in a second, but when it comes to selling, you need to know what the problem is. So often what we think about in selling is, well, I want to just offer my solution, and nobody cares about your solution. Tough love. Nobody actually cares about your solution because they don't know they need it. Like, they know they have a problem, and the problem is never the real problem. And I'm going to give a specific example on this, but so many clients I have, and I'll just talk a product example because it's really easy to illustrate and we're all women, so we'll get it. So the people who come to me saying my solution is skincare, and it's a product. So my solution is skincare. Talk about my skincare, why my skincare is the best. It is all these things, attribute, attribute, attribute. Everyone needs great skin. So it's obvious everyone should be buying my product. I have a solution, but they're not. Why? Because they think the problem is bad skin, oily skin, dry skin. They get into that kind of conversation. And all they want to talk about, in fact, is, I mean, this really, really funnily, but you're ugly, you need help, you've got bad skin. And that's how they come across, right? And aren't you glad on the other side when you're like, wow, really feel attacked, thanks, totally want to spend some money with you, right? Like, have you seen this in social media? Have you seen this with friends around the community? Yeah, I have. Like, thanks, I feel so offended. I'm absolutely going to open my wallet and drop several $100s with you. But it happens and you see it. And it's not because they don't, they just don't know any different, because they think it's obvious. I'm the solution. It's skincare. The problem is you have bad skin. Why are you not buying? Crickets in the field again. Crickets in the field. Why? Because the problem isn't bad skin. But they think the problem is bad skin, so that's what they're messaging and talking about. What is actually the problem? The problem is, what does bad skin cost you? Well, it costs you money. I would tell you, people who don't look a certain way do not make the same amount of money. It's true, awful and true. So you're income restricted. You might not put yourself visible in the relationship field because you're not confident in your skin. So it could cost you love, relationships, friendships. It also can mean that you don't pursue your dreams because you feel like you don't look like the highlight reel that social media is bombarding you with. So you check out of opportunities that could really make the reason you're here happen. Are those pretty big catalysts to wanting to have a solution? Yes, they are. And so if I was messaging, how do you gain confidence in your skin? Would you be interested in learning more about what I offer? Yeah. The problem isn't the problem that you think it is. And if you know that somebody has a problem that you can help, and you really understand the pain, the struggle, and the fact that you do not need to stay in the darkness, do you feel compelled to help? Or do you feel like, if I just be visible, it's enough? Is it about you or is it about them? Tamara, you need to come off mute if you're talking.
Sorry, I said you've got to help.
You gotta help. Like, that's just about being a good human being. And sometimes that's the problem when we're in our sales mindset. It's like, I don't want to make the offer. I don't want to feel like I'm selling. I don't want to feel like I'm, bugging people by following up. I don't want to. This is so in your head. Take a step back. If you know somebody has a problem that is costing them more than they can afford, whatever it is, bad skin, being broke, not being able to get out and do the things they want, to make the impact, to live their vision board, you staying in your own head is a complete disservice. If you simply go back to be a good human being, they do not have an expectation that it's going to be perfect. They do not have an expectation that you won't, just bumble it. Doesn't matter, because what matters is in the darkness, you reached a hand to them. So I think selling is actually about being of service at the highest level. And it's so not about me. So when someone says to me, when I go into a podcast and we're talking a little bit about her journey and how she's been spinning her wheels and spending tens of thousands of dollars on all kinds of resources. And I said, well, are you getting anywhere? She's like, yeah, broke. I'm like, okay. Why? She's like, because I'm not really, nobody's buying what I have to offer. I'm like, well, what are you offering? And she couldn't explain it to me. I'm like, you can't explain it to me. That's why you're not selling anything. And she's like, yeah, you seem to know what that means. Yeah. She's like, I want to work with you. I'm like, okay. She's like, no, right now. I want to start Tuesday next week. What's the price to pay to work with you? And I was like, well, this is how I work. And I had mapped it out, but it was like, it was a mess. So, but I was just knowing that I could help her. And so I had to have the courage to put a number on the table. I had to have the courage to say, do I think I can help her? And this is really an integrity question. I talked a lot about integrity when I was here last time, but I only make offers to people I know I can help. So please take that same integrity line. If you cannot help them or you have any hesitation about it, simply choose not to make an offer. If you make no offers, of course, remind yourself you're going to not have a business, but you get to choose who you work with. And an important question to ask is, what value do you see? When someone says, I want to work with you, I said, well, why? I'm sorry, that's a really obvious question. Please ask it. Why do you want to work with me? What value do you think I can help you with? How can I serve you? I will tell you, every time I've asked that question, I've never had the same answer. How mind-boggling is that? And I think I do the same thing in my business every day. But people's problems are seen through different lenses. People come to me saying, I know Christine because she's an amazing salesperson. People come to me saying, actually, I came to you for marketing. Can you help me with selling? I didn't know that. Well, they're connected. Start with the end in mind, work backwards. But it's fascinating. I never get the same answer. But then when they tell me where they see the value, I have to audit and say, yeah, am I confident in serving that and helping them move forward? And if I'm not, I will be honest with that, but I will find the courage to have that conversation because they're in the darkness and they've told me they see value. So I want you to think two things. Selling is at the highest level, simple service. It's not anything else. Serve. If you are human beings and you see somebody you can help them make the offer. The second component to that is you've got to be really clear that you can help. You just got to be really clear you can help. And this is the whole email newsletter I'm going to write today is about confidence in making the offer. Because here's the first thing, and this is going to lead me, I will get to the presentation, but this is an interesting one. So often we show up and we're not confident about our business and we don't even know we're not confident, but it shows up. How does it show up? It shows up with the first impressions. Number one, you're not clear. Number two, you're not walking your walk in your business. Number three, it shows up because you leave it on the table for them to make the decision, which seems obvious and weird. I'm going to say that again, because here's what it means. So here's what I do. It's so amazing. Here's all my value. My details are in the chat. I left it to them. If I make one small change and say, here's all the value I made for my client, Mary and Lane, here are the 3 results that we achieved in 90 days. If you are curious about how I can help you make the same results, it's worth a conversation. My contact details are X. Are you in? Small shift, massive change in momentum. Don't leave it to them. And that's one of the key things I talk about in that 4-week program. But it is really important that you're confident, because the final thing I want you to think about, selling is high level service. The other thing you need to be, which is why it's so important to build your audience, is you need to be footprints in the sand. That's the analogy I like to use. So someone has a problem and you've spent a lot of time digging it out. What is the problem costing them? Because that is going to be the thing that people will move. They will move for 2 reasons only: pain and pleasure. And more likely pain, because people don't think they deserve pleasure in many cases. They do, but they struggle with that, especially to themselves. So you need to tap into what is it costing you to stay in the pain. And you do not need to necessarily be anything other than a light in the dark, which means you're visible, or you can be the footprints in the sand that says there's a path out of this. Follow it, and they will follow it at their own pace, at their own pleasure, but they will follow it to you, and they'll observe. Because I will tell you the interesting thing about my business, and we talked social media a little bit last time. I have never had a client came to me who was highly engaged in my social media. I don't find clients on social media. People find me on social media and they watch me. They're watching for my confidence. They're watching, do I walk my walk? They're watching, do I show the highs and the lows of business? Because why would you hire a coach who only talks about how awesome it is and how easy it is? Hello. Like it's just the highlight reel. Like it's not, but they're watching. And though people show up in my inbox, my recent client I'm going to be starting with next week is in the Netherlands. Like I've never marketed myself in the Netherlands. She's been through several experiences. I said, well, why did you choose me? She said, because I've been watching you for a while. Never seen her engage, never knew her name. And she's like, I know that you have great clarity because I've seen you speak on it. I've heard you introduce your business many times, and I feel like you actually get me. Like, okay, what do you need help with? I have been hesitating to start my business for 10 years. I'm reaching that tipping point that if I don't move now, I will always regret it. Okay, great. What does that look like? I don't even know what I would offer. So, well, I can help you do that, but we will not solve that problem in 3 sessions, but we could start with some clarity. Longer term, you're going to need to put some investment in your business because confidence is built through action. You don't acquire it any other way. That's also why I would say work with somebody who you can borrow their confidence, because it's also a really interesting thing. When people come to work with you, they don't actually come for your product or service. This is a mistake I see made a lot. They actually don't come for your product or service. They come to you to borrow your confidence and your knowledge until they can acquire it for themselves. And the way that they will assess, are you confident, is the words you use, your visible presence, and whether you are investing in your own business. So if you are expecting clients to put hard cash on the table for your transformation, they will only do that if you are doing the same thing for yourself. If you're like, yeah, I'm really good getting free resources and doing the other things, I'm like, so let's just check this. This is a recent client of mine said, so you want people to spend $3,000 for coaching with you, and you don't have a coach? Explain that to me. She's like, you really scare me, Christine. I'm like, I'm not meant to be intimidating. She's like, but I have heard more gaps. And I said, great, you know some gaps, you can go fill it. She's like, I think I need help. Great. But this is an interesting conversation. Remember, if you are not investing in your business, and you are, because you're here in the Business Builder community, you need to talk about that. I am prepared to grow to the level that I need to be. None of us get there without trying it and embracing doing it messy. Make an offer, meet more strangers. Nobody wins if you stay in your head. Just be a good human. If you know they have a problem and you know you can help them, show up and say, there are footprints in the sand to follow. I'm a light over here, come observe. And I always say, create platforms where people can observe and sit until they're ready to stand, because you don't control when they say yes. But it's fabulous when they show up and say, tell me what it's like to work with you. So much more fun than I have to go hunt for clients because I have nothing in my pipeline. So let me share my screen. I'm going to take you through some storytelling today, because everything I've just done with you is storytelling, right? This is, at the end of the day, storytelling. I need to jump that back. Got the wrong one. But storytelling is what is the thing that connects us. And connection is everything. So when you are storytelling, it's your opportunity to make a first impression. And it doesn't matter whether you are speaking, in a networking setting, in a group setting, in the grocery line, you need to know how to talk about your business. And so I'm going to tell you an effective 3-step formula that you can use as foundation to build your confidence. I'm going to talk about, what are the elements of great storytelling? Because storytelling is the fastest way to build connection and credibility. And then I'm going to give you some tips about confidence, because I said confidence is an acquired skill. So many people come into me saying, I just loved your confidence. I said, I acquired it by making a ton of mistakes and still make a ton of mistakes. But I know that I need to be the light. I need to be the catalyst, and that if I show up and make impact with one person, it's enough, because that ripple is massive. And that's what matters. So why do you want to be a great speaker? And I don't mean necessarily like as a formal speaker in your business, but anytime you open your mouth, you are speaking about your business. Number one, it's about the power of first impressions. We get really lazy about crafting a first impression. And after today, you won't, because you'll be thinking, oh, Christine's voice is in my head. But people will interact with you all the time. They'll see you on a Zoom call. They will cross your social media. They will be referred to you or heard about you through the lips of someone else. You never control the road that they're on in terms of which way they start, which turns they take, but it's really important that all of this messaging is congruent with the best of you, not what's left of you when you show up haphazardly. Because if you do not make a positive first impression, you leave money on the table and impact lost. And so I want you to be thinking about, what words do I use? How do I storytell? How do I show up, make a good first impression? And then go back and check your business regularly, because maybe the last time you checked your website was 6 months ago, or never, because someone else wrote it. And yet the messaging and the wording you're using day to day doesn't jibe. Well, if it doesn't connect, somebody else is feeling the discord. And again, that breaks down confidence. And they're buying confidence first, way before they ever buy your product or service. Opening your mouth is actually the fastest way to cash. So I said, you got to go make friends with strangers. It is so important to recognize that no business changes hands without a conversation. I think we've got this really dangerous kind of messaging that's out there in the marketing world right now. Like, if I just build a landing page, they'll come. Hello, Kevin Costner back at the scene. It's not true. Nobody's going to come into my business and spend thousands of dollars with me if they've never talked to me. It might be one conversation because they watch me for years, but there's still going to be a conversation because they're going to want to feel connected to me. And that happens in dialogue. So just remember, if you're not speaking about your business, you're leaving the opportunity, because speaking truly is the fastest way to cash. And you need to do more of it. So when you're speaking, what do you actually do? How do you do it? So this is a really simple formula. It's based on one of the best entertainers ever known to the world. And there was a movie about it, his life, with Hugh Jackman, and it was a musical. Does anybody know The Greatest Showman? Okay, do you know The Greatest Showman? Do you know who it was based on the life of? P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum was the original entertainer, and he used this formula. So think about the circus and his showmanship. It's a 3-step formula that will work whether you are speaking for 1 minute at a mixer, or whether you are asked to speak for hours about your business. This formula is expansion. regardless of the amount of time you've had, because I've used this for speaking, I've used this for emceeing, and I use this all the time, but it's simple. And he would have said, let me tell you about the greatest animal catcher you've ever heard. He will show you feats of things that you've never seen before. And then he would go back on stage and say, wasn't that the greatest experience you've ever had and the feats you've ever seen? That's exactly what he's doing. Step number one, people want a roadmap. Tell them where you're going. And this is really important because people have different learning styles, but all of us want to know where we're going. Because the sad truth is nobody actually cares what you have to say. Zero interest in what you have to say until you can tell me why it matters. Where are we going? Okay, you've captured my interest. So you need to show them a roadmap, and the longer you're speaking, you need to tell them there's going to be milestones. Watch for them to keep them on pace. It's like the road that we were traveling on. I told you there were 3 lanes of traffic. You're watching for signposts along the way. Number 2, you actually tell them this is the meat of your discussion. This is where you're delivering insights. And this is the most important bit here. And this will take all the stress out of speaking. It's not about you. Okay. Remember, if you are opening your lips about your business, you're not about the solution. You're about helping them with the problem and knowing that there's a guide away from the pain towards the pleasure. There's a bridge, and you're showing the bridge and the footprints in the sand. So what's in it for them? You got to spend time thinking about this and do it as a brainstorm. What's in it for the audience? Why does this matter? And use those words to get their attention. The reason I'm telling you this is speed is the fastest way to cash, and you want to manage your first impression. Why? Because it's how you make revenue and impact. And that's necessary if you actually want to have a business, which you did because you told me I'm here as a business builder. So you must really get to the heart. You tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them and why it matters to them and what's in it for them. And you show up saying, I see you. And they go, oh, I really feel seen. Feeling seen is the most powerful way to communicate. It's what we're all striving for. I want to be seen. So see your audience. Let them know you see them and let them know you're in safe space to guide them to the conclusion, which is you recap and you tell them what you told them. You want to really focus on the key learning points. Why did this matter? I just spent 40 minutes with you. Why the hell did it matter? What do I want you to do with this? Have an action item. You never leave the scene of a crash without doing something. So you make sure you have thought about the next step, the implementation piece. It's not enough to simply be entertaining and acquire knowledge. If you do nothing with it, you've left all the potential on the table. So I want you to remember the simple storyline formula. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then recap. Tell them what you told them, why it matters, and what were the key milestones on the journey. This is important. You can do it orally, which is words out of my mouth, but you can also do this on the screen. If you're using visual aids, you need to be clear on the same steps. Here's a hallmark. I don't need you to read it. I need you to just know, oh, right, we're still on that screen. This is where we're at. What's coming next? Oh, great. Why does this matter? Guess what? If you tell them why it matters repeatedly or on a screen, what will they do? You're doing it in the room now. You're writing it down. Writing it down helps it reinforce it. And anything written down, you will do more with than if you just simply got entertained. So remember that. So once you have focused on the structure and you've audited your structure and you're walking your walk, I want you to look at how do you stand out from the sea of sameness. People often say to me, I'm worried about the competition in the marketplace. And I always say, why? Well, because I don't know if anybody will ever pay me what I want to get paid. Well, 2 things. The fact that there's a competition means there is a market where money is changing hands. That's a good place to start. That's proof of concept in a business. Second thing is people will only pay you what value you confidently state and deliver. Because trust me, there's billions of dollars. People are paying $10 for something and they're paying thousands of dollars for something. A water is a perfect example of this, a bottle of water, right? You've got your bottle of water that comes from the tap that you can get for free, but you've also got your $7 bottle of water that's in a nice glass and it's got somebody's logo on it. It's still just a glass of water, but the difference is the value perception. So if you're struggling to think people will not pay me what I'm worth, it's because you are not confident in the value you stand for. Come back and join my course, okay? Because that's got to be tackled. But when you're standing out from the sea of sameness, what makes you you is the whole reason your business will succeed. So you've got to be you. I'm giving you permission. Write it down. Christine gave me permission on June, whatever date we're on, 16th. You have permission to be yourself, but you need to use this, again, 3-step simple formula, because simple is what scales and simple is what sells. You need a hook, a story, and a call to action. The hook is the grab, right? I know Lana, you with the writing background, you're going to recognize some of this, but this is what will people stop and listen to? Because again, I told you, they don't care what you have to say until you tell them why it matters. It speaks to your audience's goals and fears, not your solution, but their problem. It's a way for you to show connection to the darkness that they're in. You can make it relevant and topical to something that's current so that it feels like you are in the now and not in the theory. And again, as I said this earlier, but they will be driven by 2 behaviors only. Biologically the same every person on the planet, by what is painful and what is pleasurable, and pain moves us more quickly. Because we want a lot of things, but we're not prepared to do the action. But your hook is like dropping somebody into the middle of something. So what? Stop. What did she just say? It's the grab. It's essential. This is something you should practice. And some of you have heard me speak before, talk about the fact that plot twists are a topic I use a lot as my hook. I walked into a hotel. I didn't start out, as the entrepreneur you see in front of me. The journey began when I was 1,400 kilometers away from home. I walked into a hotel bar envisioning wine and emails on my evening plan until HR and my boss were in the lobby and I saw them. That's my hook. You're like, what the hell? What happened next? What happens next is the story. Your origin story, the story you don't want to tell, is the one your audience really needs to hear. And it takes a lot of courage to say your origin story. And so many people can choose to say the origin story of a client. That is also really effective. But an origin story shows why you're the expert. It gives you street credibility. It's focused on a single scene and not the entire book. Drop me into it. Think always of when you're talking about a story that at the start of a new chapter. It was dark at night, 5 p.m. I was on the highway. I was on the road to success in my business. I'm wondering what's happened before, what's going on next. Where are we? I don't understand yet. But I'm leaning in. It's short, couple sentences. You gotta be you though. This is one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm out networking, is if you are bored about your business. I'm bored about your business. So you hear it, right? This is hi, my name is, and my business is X, and I'm all about transforming you so you can live your purpose. And I want you to, really expand yourself and feel amazing and live the life you always deserve. My details are in the chat. And that's what it sounds like. It's like so monotone. And yes, you have told the story of your life, of your business 1,000 times, because you met 1,000 people this last month, remember? But guess what? It needs to feel like the first time, every time, because it's somebody's first impression. And if you don't make a good first impression, you're leaving impact and money on the table. So if you are not excited, if you're not passionate about it, think intentionally about what impression you're leaving. Use the words that are you. Stop sounding like a robot. Stop sounding like anybody else's highlight reel. People don't want that. There are 8 billion people on the planet. You do not need 8 billion people to make a business. You need a very small group of them. And the small group that sees you because you are you is the people that will open their wallets. And anybody else just needs to walk past, because if you're distracted trying to serve them by sounding like everybody else, you will struggle. So please embrace you. Show your quirks. Be honest. This is what the world really wants. And the biggest connection story is your why. Because remember, when you're networking or speaking about your business, or you're in conversation with all these strangers that you're going to go meet after today, they don't care how you do what you do. They don't even care the name of your business. They want to know why you're here. The why is the compelling human story. It's why I'm prepared to not live in my head. I'm going to go help a stranger who's in trouble because I know I have a solution and a bridge for them. It's not about me, it's about them. That's really compelling. That's how people will work for you to create momentum in your business. But I will tell you one thing about the why, and I think Tamara shared my why video with the community. What's really important about your why is it has to be big enough that it moves you past your commitment level and your convenience level. Because if your why is only about, I'll only dabble in my business and I won't make any offers and I don't want to make any strangers, then your why is not big enough. Your why needs to pull you forward on tough days. And it doesn't mean that you don't shut down at the end of a tough day and feel crappy and have a glass of wine or walk in nature or whatever it does to reset you. But you get up again tomorrow and say, I am determined to make the impact, and I will show up for one person who's got a problem I know I can solve, one way I can get visible, one way I can show my heart, because that's what people really want. So your origin story will be the reason you stand out, and it will not be because of your business name. It will not be because of your name. People don't care what you have to say until they know why it matters and how it makes them feel. So embrace the story. It's so important. Once you've told your story, you need to have a call to action. That's the third component of storytelling. The call to action is the bridge to the problem and the solution. You are the bridge in your business. You are not the solution itself, because the solution itself is in the hands of your client. You can give them all the guidance they want. They do nothing with it. Is it your fault or theirs? It's theirs. I know I love to pull you uphill. I cannot. I've tried. But I can be the bridge to show you I know how to do this. If you need help, I will help you. But I will give you all the tools. You must implement them. You must have the courage to put your money where your mouth is. You must walk the walk in your business. But the simple thing about a call to action is about the so what factors. And I coach this a lot in my programs. Why does it matter to them? What is the cost of inaction for them? You must have one ask. You must make it clear. Simple words are better. Don't get fancy, because simple is what sells and simple is what scales. And I gave you an example, and I told you about my client, Mary Elaine, and said, she spun her wheels for 16 months and tens of thousands of dollars spinning in circle without any revenue. We got into a conversation in a podcast about what I do, and she became a client. Over the course of 90 days, we clarified her offer, identified 2 groups that she was serving, launched a membership program, a summit with 18 speakers, and she added 400 people to her list. She wanted an accelerated path. She worked with me one-to-one. What would it be like if you had those kind of results in your business? Are you curious to know if we can help each other on the path to success? Because if you continue to spin your circle, where will you be in 6 months? And is that an acceptable answer? That's it. I've just given you a hook, a story, and a call to action. Thoughts? Are you doing this? Could you do this? What would be the impact in your business if you took this approach? What would be the impact? Would you have an expensive hobby, or would you have a business? Which one do you want? Are you brave? Is your why big enough? It needs to pull you forward. So you've now got clarity on why are we doing speaking at all? Well, 2 things. We are managing a first impression that's positive, because speaking is the fastest way to cash. We have a formula for how to speak. We're going to tell them what we're going to tell them. We're going to tell them, and we're going to tell them what we told them. When we're speaking, we now have a storyline. We're going to talk about a hook. We're going to talk about the story. We're going to have one call to action. All of that is foundational. That will pin success or failure based on your confidence to do it. So how do you build confidence? Here's a couple of tips. These are really, really important because I said, if you hesitate at all, somebody feels it. You're not walking your walk. Why would I want to work with you? I'm working with you to borrow your confidence and your knowledge until I can acquire my own. That's the number one reason people will spend money with you, always. It is not your product. The product should be good. It's a given. Your customer service should be good. It's a given. Why would I want to spend time with you when I have other choices? Because I believe in your confidence. I like your energy, and I believe you can help me get there because you've shown me you're the bridge. You show me I'm seen. And I believe that working together, we are stronger, and the cost of inaction is too high to stay where I am any longer. I've drawn a line in the sand, maybe the 100th line I've drawn, but I am now moving forward, and transaction is required to have the transformation they seek. That's why offering your services for free gets you nowhere. They've got to have skin in the game. So when you are building your business, you need to keep it simple. You've noticed on everything I've done today, there have been 2 or 3 points only. Chances are you'll remember one of them in each section. So don't proliferate and vomit your business at people or your ideas at people. They can't process it. Why? Because you've told the story for 1,000 times and they're hearing it for the first. Remember that. Keep it simple. It's like packing for a vacation back when we did those things. You pack your suitcase, and how much of what you pack you actually use? Like a half, maybe a quarter. Take it out. Pack your suitcase, take half out. Same is true when you were thinking about speaking about your business. The goal is not to go from first date to marriage in a single conversation. Your goal is to get those 7 to 12 touch points I mentioned so that there's always a momentum. Why? Because momentum through small actions create the habit of movement. If you can get somebody to buy into small steps, keep saying there's value. Yes, there's still value. Yes, there's still value. Guess what happens by the time you actually make an offer? They're predisposed to say yes to you, which means what? Your conversion rate is higher, which means even if you made fewer offers, your revenue is consistent. But it comes through the whole sequence coming together. This builds foundation by foundation. So keep it simple. Don't lose them in the wilderness because a confused mind will never buy. You need to prepare. You need to have that practice, that action in your business. Preparation shows you had care for your audience. If you were making a first impression, somebody shows up discombobulated, really distracted, not put together, what impression have you made? Well, probably not one they're going to open their wallet and spend thousands of dollars with. Or if they put together and said, I put something together, I was thoughtful, here's where I think it's really relevant to you. I've put myself in your shoe, I've shown you so what, and I'm confident with my ask, guess what happens? I feel you're a good partner, I trust you. And trust has to be there for a relationship to move forward. And the third thing is perspective. We talked a little bit about it, which was, staying in your head thinking, I don't want to make the offer, or if you know somebody's in trouble and there's a problem you can solve, what kind of human being do you want to be? One that helps. So selling is about service at the highest level. So keep the perspective that it is not about you. It is always about them. And you've got to think about what is the value I offer as they perceive it. So ask them, ask every client you meet that comes to spend money with you. Once they've spent money, the day they want to give you the check or write their credit card out or send you the bank wire, why did you choose me? What value do you see? And what's your big win working with me? So I know it, and I can be sure I deliver it at the highest level because that makes me integrous with my whole position of selling. I'm serving. The other thing to help when you're speaking is thinking about the swan. So I also want you to think about the swan that is serenely guiding across any river. On the surface, they're ethereal. they're put together, all the feathers are in place. That's the impression your audience needs to see because it's confidence instilling. It's completely normal that underneath the surface, the swan is paddling like crazy. That's your internal nerves. That's your internal anxiety. That's the imposter syndrome that happens. Doesn't matter. I need to remember, what does my audience see? The surface or beneath the surface? Well, I want them to see a confident surface. And sometimes when I'm storytelling, I want them to know what's happening beneath the surface. Why? Because it makes me relatable. You've got to be relatable to your audience. Your audience is buying the fact that you are a couple of chapters down the road or a couple of miles down the road than they are. You do not have to have it all together. You do not need to be perfect. You have to be human first, because we want to work with people who are real at the end of the day. So keep it simple, be prepared, and invest in the preparation. Practice it out loud. Ask for feedback, look for the small tells, the small tweaks in conversations. That's what I can offer you. And remember, it is always about them. Because selling is the oxygen in your business. Without the sales, you have an expensive hobby. And selling really is a lot of fun when you know you can serve people, when you realize that you're not hunting for clients. You never close a sale. Please stop that language if you use it. What is a sale? It's a vote of confidence that somebody sees your value. Celebrate that. It is actually also the start of a new relationship. So celebrate a beginning of something. A place where the dollar value, regardless of what it is, you want to make sure they get exponential return on investment, or how they feel about the care you gave, for the value you delivered. Because I always say to my clients, whatever programs we work together, I know you're hesitating to spend the money. Investing in your business makes it real. Do you feel safe in my hands to guide you? Yeah. Let me tell you, no matter what money you spend with me, whether you come to a free program, whether you come to the 4-week group program, or you choose to work with me on an escalated path, I want you to know at the end of it, you would have said to me, and do say to me, it was worth more than I paid. When that happens, guess also what the benefit is. One, you both feel fabulous, which, hello, let's celebrate that. Second thing, if you created a raving fan, somebody's going to be the social proof in your business. Somebody's going to speak well on your behalf, the way that Tamara kindly has just recently done for me. Said, would you speak about your experience working with me? It's valuable to me. She had to remind me of that in her newsletter. That's why we have community. I'm like, I didn't do a good job with that. But that's small taps that correct us, because to be great in business, you got to implement the scary stuff, but you do not need to do it by yourself. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I want to invite you to have conversations. Do you want to practice a story? Do you want to go back and say, that's the bit that I need help with, or that's the bit that I feel most excited about taking and moving forward with from here? But pop on, open the screens, tell me what you think.
So I think, thank you. That was a really awesome I've been to a lot of presentations, and the amount of heart you put into it it's appreciated.
Thank you.
So I guess one of the things that I struggle with, and Bren, I think you're in agreement, is because we have two different clients that we're selling to. So we sell to corporates, but we also have our ideal client in mind, who's a private individual. So the stories, the value propositions is completely different, which is probably why we haven't really invested in our social media strategy, because we don't know what to really put out there in a mass kind of way. Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice on that?
I do. Yeah, that's a really great question, because I think it comes down to, sometimes it's like I serve different audiences, or sometimes I have different offerings. And the interesting thing is that you're still the connection point. And the important thing is, I'm going to go back into the storyline, is you need to drop me in a single scene. Not every story I tell is relevant to every audience. I need to assess what my audience needs to hear and deliver that. So I'll give you an example. One of the things, of course, I work with is small independent businesses. But like you, I also serve corporate clients, because learning to speak better about business is not just a small business need. It is actually, I think a person need. But I work in corporate clients as well. And I do that through a collaboration with another independent business. Like, well, you serve a client, he's a video guy. I'll give you the example. So he's a video guy, video production company, and he is selling packages of video services to corporate clients. And I know his business. And I'm like, what is his biggest challenge? In his revenue line, profit is eroded because people show up not confident to speak on camera. They spend a ton of time on production. Post-production erodes the profit. So I said to him, we were brainstorming. He's been through my workshop. He's a speaker. He's sales and marketing. He's got tons of experience speaking. He's like, yeah, but you're amazing at it. And I want to know how you do it. So I'd like to come and sit and pick your brain. And I said, you know what? Why don't we package our services together? Because I can run the workshop I run for independent businesses to your clients. Two things that will achieve. One, you're going to see better profit lines. Two, you can raise your price in the marketplace and be seen as distinctly different. And it also gives you something that we can collaborate on and both win together, because we're serving something that is still different markets, but there's a connection piece. You got to look for the connection piece. We've done that as a joint venture multiple times now. And what that does is figure out it's still okay to serve two different people. But when I'm in front of the corporate client, I'm not talking about independent businesses. I'm talking through the lens of what do they need. But in the next half hour, I might be jumping on a call and looking at it through the lens of an independent business. So when you're out on social media, you need to remember you write an article or you write a post or you show up in a video, you talk to one person. That one person will see you. The rest, honestly, will walk past you, and that's okay. So you can serve more than one audience. I happen to run 3 businesses. I don't talk about all 3 businesses in all 3 settings. People don't get confused about it because I can explain why I run 3 businesses. There's a connection point that makes me me. But that's why the why story is so important. Why do I have 3 businesses? Why do I serve more than one client? Because here's how I can make the impact. What do you need in your conversation? And so I would encourage you to think about, when you're working in the corporate world, what do they need? And what's the lens of the story I need to tell them? And when you're working for an ideal client, same thing. Don't just take the corporate story, because they will disconnect to the independent. Does that make sense?
It does. I think we just lost Lana.
We just lost her. She must have dropped off. She'll have to watch the recording. But the interesting thing about that is, often we can't see the forest for the trees. That's why also thinking about this and talking about it's so important. So I'll give you another really good example. So somebody's in my network, I know as an estate planner. Like, that's how she's always introduced her as an estate planner. And she's actually, she's redesigning her website. And through a random conversation, we were just, kind of chit-chatting, getting to know each other. And she said, well, she had to run because, a young couple was at the door because they're doing their pre-marriage meeting. And I was like, you're doing what? She's like, yeah, my husband and I marry people. And I'm like, how come I never know that you marry people? Like, that's kind of cool. She's like, well, I don't talk about it networking because people frown down upon it. I'm like, wait a second, marriage is $1 billion business. Like, it's an insane industry, right? Like, money is spent like gazoodles out of weddings and things like that. And I said, well, where does that fit in your business? And she's like, well, I don't talk about it because I think they're not connected. And I'm like, okay, let me back this up for the forest for the trees for you. So you have 2 businesses. You don't promote the second one, even though you marry people like 50 weeks a year. Like, we're missing something here. The connection point is you. So my suggestion to her was, I said, yeah, actually, I think they are connected to you, because you as the heart serve 2 different audiences, 2 different age groups, vastly different needs. But I said, you're the intersection point. What are you? You're the book of love, first chapter and last chapter. So you should be talking to your marriage people, yes, about the fresh start of life and how do you give the best gift of the end of life. You need to plan the estate. And you're actually the storyline, but you need to back out that lens. You're so close to it, you can't see it. And that might be where you're at now with your business. And as you're transitioning, like, maybe you have corporate clients, but the goal is to bring more independence. Well, you need to message the independent, but always the strongest copy, the strongest message, the strongest impact is when I talk to one person. I need to spend time digging around. Who are they? What do they need? What do they need to hear? What's in it for them? The so what's. Because only a certain group will hear you.
Mm.
And if you sound like everybody else, they don't hear you at all. But you're better to go, I'm talking to Sarah, and Sarah's in this place. And this is the problem she's got. These are the fears she's facing. And there's footprints in the sand for her to follow. And the invitation is the call to action. You are able to serve more than one audience, even if they're completely unrelated, as long as you figure out the bridge. And there's one there because you're the bridge. You are. And nobody, really, we think, people judge us for this. I said, I'm a multifaceted person. Don't get caught up in your labels. I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a wife. I'm a bonus mom. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm all these things. At the end of the day, that is my storyline. Certain chapters I'll talk to you about. Certain chapters you don't have any interest in.
I'm going to jump in there. Sorry,
Yeah.
Christine, because I know that the two of you are very passionate about empowering women.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because I know you've got the corporate clients and you've got the individual clients, but really at the end of the day, that's what you offer both.
Mm-hmm.
You're offering that empowerment, that feminine empowerment. That's what you're offering. So I agree with Christine. You've got to find that overlap, that point where you're offering both the same thing, and that's what you're pushing, because that's you. That is you.
That's coming back to the forest for the trees. If you say I'm a women empowerment between the ages of here and here, here's the lens in the corporate setting, here's the lens in the lifestyle setting. And most women will also then look at the other side saying, I don't want just the corporate side. I want the balance and harmony of the other. And that is a very beautiful thing to zig and zag in your business. And said, we're gonna work through both issues. But what's their first impression? Their urgent need is corporate, or their urgent need is life. And suddenly now you're weaving. And when you're happening, guess what happens? We talked about last time, revenue, different kinds of revenue. But you can lean back and saying, that's the piece that ties us together. And we are unique because we do it through more than one lens. Which I think could be really powerful.
Thank you. Sorry, I disappeared for like a second and the farm's electricity just went off.
Oh,
For no reason, but it came back. So
well, otherwise we thought you'd just watch the recording.
yeah, I'll catch a little bit in the recording, but I think I got the gist of it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Christine, I have a question,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that's been thrown at me recently. Is for businesses that offer a business to business solution.
Mm-hmm.
I find people want to push that business to business side of things in their content and their talking and that, but I personally battle with that way of thinking. I'm very human orientated. I keep thinking of the people behind this, and I think that's something that I battle with, is that is how do you bridge that? Because there are certain, especially in my industry with the accounting and advisory and that sort of thing, my service is very much business to business. My business helps you develop your business. That's what it's about. And I'm not necessarily selling to a single person. At the different stages of businesses, you'll get to a stage where you've got a whole board of people that are actually going to make a decision. But so how do you craft a message that is real to who you are for a business to business solution? That's something that I battle with personally, because I put a lot of myself in it, and then I've been told recently that it's too much person, but then I'm wondering if, well, maybe that's just not my ideal client then.
You answered your own question. Yes, it's not your ideal client, because I think you always want to ask, who do I want to serve? Do I want to feel and be compelled by somebody else's labels, i.e. I have to use the words B2B, or do I want to be in a place where I actually choose my partners carefully, and that is a personal decision? Who are you calling? You've got to call the people that feel right to you. And you've answered your question, which is I don't want to disassociate my person from my business because that's what I really want out of my journey. Second component to that is there's real comfort and I'm going to say escape by saying, you know, it's a business, you know, it's the corporate, it's this like weird, unique place. Like, okay, let's just debunk that. Behind every freaking decision is a person. Don't abdicate the responsibility. I made the decision to hire or fire that person. I made the person to spend that money. If there's a collective people, you need to enroll multiple people, that's fine. It's still people you're enrolling. You're not enrolling a business. You're enrolling people always in every capacity that we're serving. So you get to decide to keep it people first. I always think it's interesting when people say, you know, you need to make success in that. This is what success looks like. Because I saw it, you know, in somebody else's version. I'm like, yeah, but they're chapter 20 and you're chapter 1. They didn't build their business in chapter 20. They built it in chapter 1. You don't see that. But I think you get to choose. What are the kinds of clients you want to serve? How will they find you? They'll find you because you're you. The interesting thing when you do that, this was just a conversation I had with somebody the other day, and we talked about coaching. And I said, you know, we're talking about outsourcing sales. And I saw someone ask me this morning, but I want to outsource my sales. And I'm like, I don't recommend that. Why? Because when people spend money with you, they do it because they want to work with you, because they have decided through your stories that there is somebody that they're confident in and that you have knowledge and that they want to borrow that because it's not their level of expertise. So I said, if I am having somebody else sell on my behalf, yeah, it's easier. Maybe it's expensive. It's hard to get right. But people want to work with me because of me. So giving the first impression where it's not me just feels disconnected. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you know, when people are spending a high value and you know, an intimate thing, like accounting is very intimate, like there's no secrets. There should not be secrets in the accounting world. You need to be the person that is safe space to go, we bumbled this, or frick, the numbers are what they are. And that's when you do need the people bit to be the strongest card on the table. I can only help you with what I know about you. And so I would say if somebody else chooses to say to you, you need to run your business in this way, you simply say, bullshit. I don't choose that way. And I had the same conversation with you yesterday. I ran a workshop about mastering your networking infomercials, one of the free workshops I do. And I know you popped in the chat. And then someone said to me, you know, when in a meeting, when someone says, you know, please introduce yourself, tell us your name, tell us about your business. Should I do that? I'm like, no. Why? Does it feel like the right thing to do for you? Or is it just an easy answer for someone else? You're in the room to make an impact to grow your business. Do you want to sound like everybody else? I'm going to say no. Go into your own lane. And she's like, oh, and she runs her own networking group. I said, no, I show up and I'm always owning my story. That's actually the biggest asset to my business. And thank you, Lana, for saying, you know, you can feel my heart. I said, I have to own that. Do I have the mental chops? I hope you think yes. Confidently, she's got some skills, but I like her for her energy first. I like her for the fact she's probably going to say bullshit when I need to hear it. And so I would say, be careful subscribing to somebody else's labels. You have answered your own question, and you need to remember, who do you want to attract? What's the piece that's really going to ultimately mean that this is a success on my terms? And if they're not the right people, always remember this magical component. You are the one who decides when an offer is made. Only you. So if they're not the right energy, or they're not the right thing, or they want to hide behind, this is business. I always say it is not business, it is personal, always. Someone made that decision. Somebody's decision was made. The signatures were on the ink that wrote the check. That is a name on the check. Not the business. And we can hide behind that. But I think what the world really wants is more connection. We're tired of hiding behind an us and them. It's so divisive. And we don't want that. Connect to the human. You will stand out. You will create space for yourself, and nobody can replicate it. I said, I can give away all my knowledge for free. Does that make me not valuable? Not at all. people still want to work with me. Why do I give the value? Because the magic is not just in the value. Where I know I can really accelerate is the implementation with you. And hopefully with my own business. I mean, I've got to be the best example of my own business. So when someone challenges you on that, you get to decide. And I know you've got that whole change in your structure that's going on. And you want to make sure you're saying this still fits my vision. And have the courage to own that. Because you've got to love it. Like there's nothing worse, and I've seen it time and time again. You've built something that has taken on a life of its own. You're like, I don't love this anymore. Okay, let's figure out how to get back in love with it, or sell it off, or move it out and start again. Does that help?
Yes. Thanks. I think I think that's the thing. It's just remembering that even if there is a business you're serving, there's still, as you say, there's still a person who makes the decision.
Always.
It's P2P.
It is. And, you can actually, that's a great piece of marketing, is saying, we're not B2B, we're P2P. We're about people first. And everyone says we're about people first, but then when things get tough, we are suddenly not about people anymore. We hide behind the corporate. What are the companies that make it? And I mean, make it on their own terms, whatever success looks like in their own terms. It's because they're purpose-driven. And purpose-driven is people-driven. I make the tough calls. I stand by my integrity. I own my warts. I own my celebrations. And I do it by my way. And that's really what we all sit in the sidelines going, I want more of that. We do, right? We are like, I wish I had the courage to do that. Well, they don't have more courage than you. They took more action than you. They built confidence on the way. And the confidence is what you're admiring, actually, more than anything else. So that's why the confidence piece is so key. And you do not get it thinking about it. Sadly, you got to do it messy. Because nobody actually expects perfection but you. And if you make a big cock up, that means pretty big ones in my time, just need to own it. Oh shit, guess what? I'm human. That's really hard for me to accept. How about you? Yeah, I'm embarrassed, but you know what? But we all struggle to have that vulnerability. But I tell you, every time I found the courage to do it, I've been rewarded in how I feel, in the respect that's generated, and the fact I wouldn't hide. So own your story. Choose who you want to serve, and the way in which you want to serve them. And the more you can do that, you will stand out in the sea of sameness, and you will truly create something that is your legacy. It's the reason you feel fired up. It's the ripples of change you want to make. It's, I always say, who do I want to work with? I want people who actually will be the change they want to see in the world. And thankfully, we don't have to do it by ourselves. And have people that cheer you up. And when you're cheering people up and you hit tough roadblocks, the interesting thing I always think is, I don't want you to pat me on the head and tell me I'm pretty and I've got good skin. Like, just don't. I want you to say, it's really crappy. I totally see you. It sucks. Nice to see you back here tomorrow. Keep going. Like that's the community that I build, right? It's like, I want not the platitude. It sucks. There's tough breaks. But I'm still really compelled by my why. And I go, oh yeah. Do I need to be a good human or do I need to leave them in a problem? And you cannot make you cannot make somebody else do something, but they can't hide behind it. That is still choice. It's not the corporate that's choosing. It's the person that's choosing. Because honestly, you will always find a way. And there's a difference in attitude. Like, I think I had to get into this pretty recently in my own headspace. It's like, I really want to serve one specific person who says, I will find a way, who doesn't live with the mediocrity that says there is no way. And I don't care whether you're talking $447 to come to a workshop. I'm like, it is worth its weight in gold. It will help you get clients consistently. But then the people are like, I can't afford you. How do you know you can't afford me? You've never had the conversation with me. That's you checking out on your dream because it's easy. It's the they. It's like, well, when business is better, we'll do something. I'm like, what business is better? Well, what are you doing to get the business to go better? The business just doesn't magically hatch. You know, people don't trip over you. That fast lane's pretty small. They're like, you're right. I'm doing nothing. Okay. When you're ready and you're in action orientated mode, I will run when you're ready to run. But I just don't hide behind that. And sometimes you need that, you know. I know the most compelling conversation I have with my coach, where she's like, yeah, I know you'll get there. You've got the tenacity to get there. I don't have the quit gene in me. She's like, how exhausted will you get there on your own when you get there 5 years from now? How exhausted will you be? Like, pretty freaking exhausted. She's like, so did you want to stay that exhausted, or, you know, is it worth investing in? And I didn't have any other answer than it was the smartest decision to invest. I still had to stop my panic though. And honest, every day. I will not panic when my revenue is lower than my expenses. I said that to myself for months. Every time I saw the check, I'm like, but, you know, then I go into meetings yesterday. I said, guys, I've done some crazy idea. I'm going to launch, by the way, come on July 20th. I'm going to launch my first masterclass, which is going to be a co-hosted multi-speaker event. Because I could do it for someone else in an hour on an idea. I've thought about my business for 4 months. Like, that's just fear. It's ridiculous. And then I did it. And then I show up to this community that I do still spend a check with. I committed 2 years out of the gate. So it's just my story. 2 years out of the gate, I committed out of the gate. I went into a meeting yesterday, caught the tail end of a meeting, said I'm going to do this event. And they're like, great, I've got speaker agreements. I've got some ideas for sponsorship. I'll send you all these resources. And then let's set some meetings up to help you get there. I'm like, that's why I paid the check. I was good reminded yesterday when I looked at my bank balance. I'm like, that is why I paid the check, because they're a little further on their journey than me, and they help me get there faster. And that will take a lot of the stress out of the mistakes I could be making.
What is the masterclass topic?
Business growth. So business growth delivered. And I'm going to bring 10 to 15. I'm still getting my speakers lined up. It'll be 10 to 15 speakers, but this is a master class. So it will be the format, which I'm going to do something unknown, because I want to do my own thing. And not because I need to just be me, but I'm like, I think we're missing a trick. What do my clients need? What do my audience need? What do early stage entrepreneurs need? I'm like, we're going to talk about what are the common mistakes we see. People who are skin in the game, riding through up and down seasons. What are the mistakes we're making? So it's going to be interview style, 10 to 15 minutes. But then there's going to be a 5-minute TED Talks teaching component. Tell me how to fix the problem we're seeing. Simple, actionable, and an accountability piece. What one step will you take right now? So at the end of the day, you're going to have, you think, I can't do anything until I have the next 10 steps mapped out. Well, I just gave you the 10 steps. You wrote them down. You decided what they were. So that you actually get clients. Like, it shouldn't be the struggle it is. It's a struggle because you're not meeting people and you're not confident in the value because you're not making any offers. We got to fix that. And the quicker we fix it, the more exponential your path. Because the cost of inaction of not making any offers is costing you more than you can afford. And that's just true of clients. Like, I just see it all the time. And so I'm like, what can we do? I'm like, I know people obviously have got my message, but I curated my audience. I curated my speakers. I'm like, you are a no nonsense. Let's help people with little money to get moving. And as you start to get moving, you're going to be confident to invest in your business because your commitment level is there, because your why is stronger. You're like, I can really do this. Yeah, but stop looking for free stuff. Like, this will be a free event and you will have room to implement it. But if you know you need accountability, please take some, because the implementation piece is everything. I mean, I've got notebooks and notebooks of great ideas. The only ones that really matter are the ones I executed. And I keep them for one day. I'm like, not right now. I know I can't, I don't have bandwidth for that. Just keep them on my idea book, and they are great, but they might not be great for me. I might have to give them to somebody else, which is awesome. I said, well, I've got this great idea. I do that. And that's, again, a little nugget from here, a little nugget from here, a little nugget from here. And I'm like, what do I really like? I want to have the real talk. And I also don't want this, it's really complicated. It's going to cost you $10,000 to go implement my perfect solution. Because I just don't believe that either. I'm like, you can create it any way you like. And I truly believe you can create a 6-figure business organically. Yeah, you should invest in some resources. I would have an accountant. I would have a cleaner in my house. I would have a tax professional. And because those are not my skills, expertise. I can do them for my personal stuff, but I'm like, I don't have the time for that. What is my best use of time? It is actually in conversation with meeting new people. That's me walking my walk. The other thing, of course, I do is I have an accountability. I'm in a mastermind. I have a coach because they have skills where I have gaps. That's how it works. And I know it because I said I could get there and learn it. Not the best use of my time. And it's so fun when you are working with other people. It really is. Like, Tamara and I got to meet through a community. We've got to share, collaborate space here. It's been fun. Like, we're both on the journey of being in business. People, like, we can talk about things most people don't get, can have the honesty of saying, I'm struggling with this. And I was telling her on her podcast the other week, I said, I had to go back and say, what's really going on in my business? Well, I haven't made any offers. Well, that's going to be a problem because my expenses didn't disappear. But why did I not make offers? Because I was so distracted by, I rewrote the website, I changed the pricing. Maybe that's the problem. I went and did a whole bunch of things in my business, all thinking they were driving revenue. They did not drive revenue in the short term if there was no offer made. So then I got off my butt and said, ooh, that was really uncomfortable. I got called on it in my head, probably more than real truth. And went, I'm not doing the things that deliver business. I need to go back to the fundamentals I know are true. And I went and made offers, and I have a new client that I start with next week. But I could make that change in a heartbeat after I made a recognition of, yep, I am distracted by noise. It got really easy. And then people kept asking me to say yes. I said, yes, they sound great in theory, but they'll be great for revenue in 2023. Well, how will I feed myself between now and then? I need to take offers. I need to be clear with what my own product servicing is. And I know that people I've had conversation with 5 times are still needing what I offer. And I need to go back and have a 6th, and a 7th, and an 8th. And it's not enough to post on social media. Like, you asked about social media. I said, honestly, like I said, people are checking your credibility. They're checking your story. They're reading it, but I have not yet had somebody randomly show up because of social media and open their wallet. They may have seen it, but they did not engage. My most highly engaged audience are other supporters, which are not the same as clients. You cannot eat followers, as my friend Carrie would say. And we get really caught up into that vanity metric because it means we're being heard, we're being seen. You can move a business with 10 people, or you can move nothing with 100. They're not the right people who hear you and feel seen by you and really are ready to move. They're not your client. And that's one of the hardest transitions. It is honestly one of the hardest transitions because we're counterintuitive. We're like, we want to serve everybody. Like, if the more people I kind of attract, the bigger chance of success I have. It's not true. The more niche you are, the more specific in your language, the more you own all of your animations, you will be more successful. Because the right people see you and they are desperately looking for you. But you getting kind of, vanilla into the crowd doesn't help. Because they'll show up and say, what you really said right there, it's like you were in my brain. And that's when you've got it. That's when you've got to really listen to that. Okay. And be careful. One final thought is be careful, when you are asked to do things that aren't necessarily in your wheelhouse, or it isn't what you really want to be directionally going, it's okay to say no. That's hard. It's really hard when you're not seeing consistency in clients. You're like, any revenue is good revenue. But you don't want to get known for something that you don't love.
Like taxes.
Like, I could do that. Do I want to do that? I don't know if I want to do that. Next thing you know, you get this reputation. Everyone's like, well, she's great at that. And you're like, oh my God. It's like if you collect anything.
Yeah,
I have a friend that, was suddenly they were like, somehow my whole crowd started to think that I wanted to collect elephants, and everyone's giving me freaking elephants. Like, I don't like elephants. Like, why do I have hundreds of everything with elephants? And it's like, because you started to get known and you're like, oh, that's so nice. And you did it in a public way. We all think that that's your thing. And she's like, how do I freaking tell people to stop sending me elephants? I'm like, you need to simply say, I don't love them enough. Same is true in business.
Actually, I can corroborate that story. I really dislike clothes with polka dots. I don't know why, but it's never been my thing.
I saw my thing.
And for some reason, at one stage, I had like half a wardrobe of polka dots. Is gifts from people, you know, they bought me like pajamas and a gown and a shirt, and pants, and it was all polka dots. And I remember I'd put the pajamas on so I had polka dot pajamas and a polka dot gown, and I was sitting there on the edge of my bed, and I was just like,
Who is this
I
person?
looked at myself and I
What
was
has
like,
happened to my life?
I hate polka dots. And my husband happened to walk in at that point in time, and he started laughing, and he was like, look, I know there's more happening in your head that came out of your mouth, but that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life, because you're covered from top to toe in polka dots, and you just announced that you hate them.
So
So
get rid of them all.
So yeah,
But
you have
that's
to
true
tell
in
people.
life. It's so true. And it's the same in business. And I said, no is a complete sentence. And the thing is, it is so counterintuitive again. So again, that's when you're working with somebody, it's really important to have somebody hold you in a group like this to accountable, saying, I said I didn't want that. Don't get caught up into, well, it was easy. Yeah, it's going to be effort to move to another direction. It's going to be effort if you want to move from corporate to private. There's still people. There's still, with all of, like, every corporate person has a private life. Some of them don't want to tell you that, but they do. It's if you say no to things, you will free up space for other things. And I found myself spiraling around going, I've said yes to way too many things that are not my thing. Love them, excited to contribute. But God, I gotta look after my own business. And that's why I was like, I'm doing this. And, and then of course, take the decision and move quickly. Don't live in the paralysis. I'm like, okay, so then I sent out like within an hour, I'm like, I'm going to go do this. I made the commitment. And like for 1 hour, I was like inviting like crazy people I wanted to come speak on my stage. I didn't wait, like, I could do it on Monday. I'm like, no, right now. While my energy and commitment level is going to be the highest it will ever be before fear comes in the way. And then I started to see, yes, I'm interested. Yes, let's have a conversation. Yes, let's have a conversation. And so like, right, do it messy.
Well, I'm very glad you came to speak on my stage, Christine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Excited to see where the next conversation goes. Look forward to our implementation session, and think about the things today, and I said, just audit and identify gaps. Like, that is your best strategy as an entrepreneur, is to just, when you listen to something, take the moment before you go to bed tonight, just identify the gaps. You don't fix every gap within the next 30 days, but you do know where they are, because if they're there today, they will be there in 60 days if you do nothing to bridge it. And say, what's the next step I can take? One action, one call. I'm doing this, commit it. And as many times as you need, enroll yourself. And re-enroll yourself. Committed to this. Take that one step.
Meet more people.
You are going to go meet new people now. Scared to do it. If you are still hesitating, you're going to come to my course.
I put the link.
Yes, you really
ladies,
honestly need to go meet new people. You cannot build this business any other way.
if you need the links to Christine's events, they are in the chat. I will save the chat as well. But yeah, Christine, thank you. I could listen to you for another hour, to be honest, but we do need to wrap it up, unfortunately. Oh, cat, hello. I like cats. So I'm glad we lasted long enough for me to see the cat. But thank you, Christine. Thank you for the value that you always give us. It really is appreciated. I'm looking forward to having you back for the implementation forum. And thank you very much, Brian and Lana, for showing up on a public holiday. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, Christine, and have a wonderful evening, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. You too.
See you soon.
Bye.